The trading station floated in space like a small city made of metal and glass. Inside, thousands of aliens from hundreds of worlds moved through the wide hallways. Some walked on legs, some floated in the air, and some rolled on wheels or slithered on the smooth floors. The air hummed with strange languages and the beeping of machines. Commander Jake Morrison stood near a large window and watched the crowd below. He was a tall man with short brown hair and tired eyes. Next to him, Lieutenant Amy Carter looked at her computer tablet. She was checking lists of supplies and equipment. "The captain wants us ready in 20 minutes, Amy said without looking up. "The crystal aliens are waiting for us in meeting room 7. Jake nodded, but his eyes stayed on the crowd below. Something caught his attention. Between the tall crystal aliens and the floating gas creatures, he saw a small animal being pulled on a rope. It was the ugliest dog Jake had ever seen. The creature looked like someone had tried to build a dog from memory but got all the parts wrong. Its fur grew in patches of dirty brown and sick gray. One ear stood straight up while the other hung down at a weird angle. Its face was crooked with one eye bigger than the other. Its teeth stuck out in all directions because its lower jaw was too short. The dog's legs seemed too long for its body, making it walk in a clumsy, awkward way. "What is that thing?" Amy had noticed it too. Her face showed disgust. The alien holding the rope was tall and made of living crystal that caught the light and threw rainbows everywhere. The crystal alien jerked the rope hard when the ugly dog stopped to smell a metal pole. "That is a Terran companion beast," said a voice behind them. "At least that's what the crystal aliens call it." Jake turned to see Dr. Lisa Grant walking toward them. She was the ship's animal expert. She carried 2 cups of coffee and gave one to Amy. "A what?" Jake asked. Lisa pointed at the window. "About 3 months ago, a crystal alien ship flew near Earth. They picked up some kind of signal and went to check it out. They found an old building that nobody was using anymore. Inside were several of these creatures. The crystal aliens thought they were just Earth animals. They took them and have been selling them across the galaxy as exotic pets." Amy's face changed from disgust to worry. "Are you saying those are real Earth animals? From our Earth?" "It looks that way," Lisa said. "But I haven't been able to examine one up close yet. The crystal aliens charge very high prices and they protect their products carefully. From what I've learned, most buyers bring them back within a week." "I can see why," Jake said quietly. He watched the ugly creature try to roll on its back in the middle of the busy hallway. Its owner had to drag it along the floor. Poor thing looks like it was made wrong. Below them, a group of young gas aliens gathered around the ugly dog. Their colorful bodies pulsed with what the translation computer said was laughter. One of them floated closer to the dog. The crystal alien pulled the creature away fast. "The crystal alien's name is Kilvoric," Lisa continued. "He's the main seller. He bought most of these creatures from the first group they found. People say he's made a lot of money even though many customers return them." "Why would anyone want one?" Amy asked. She watched the creature sit down hard and scratch itself with a back leg. It almost fell over. "Status symbol at first," Lisa explained. "Anything from Earth has been popular since humans joined the Galactic Council. We're the new species, the unknown ones. Some aliens find that interesting. But these particular creatures are difficult. They're clumsy, they make terrible sounds, they need special food that's hard to find in space, and they break things." Jake watched the ugly dog suddenly jump toward a group of bug aliens barking in a rough, unpleasant voice. The bugs scattered in fear. The crystal alien yanked the rope hard. "I almost feel sorry for it," Amy said quietly. "Don't waste your sympathy," Lisa replied, though her voice said she felt differently. "The crystal aliens are breeding them now. Once they realized the first group wouldn't last forever, they set up a breeding program. They're even changing them, trying to make them look better to buyers." "Changing them how?" Jake asked sharply. Lisa's face grew dark. "I don't have all the details, but I've heard rumors. They're changing the creatures' genes, training them with harsh methods. Nothing that breaks Galactic Council rules since these aren't considered smart beings. They're just animals after all." The 3 humans watched in silence as Kilvoric finally pulled his unwilling companion toward a private shop area. The ugly creature looked back at the crowded station one last time. Its mismatched eyes seemed almost like they were begging for help. Then it disappeared through a doorway. "We should tell Captain Hayes about this," Amy said. "If these really are Earth animals, there might be legal problems. Property rights, protected species laws, that kind of thing." "I already sent him a report," Lisa confirmed. "But honestly, I don't think Earth's government even knows these creatures exist. That building the crystal aliens found wasn't in any official records I could find. Someone was running a secret operation, and when they left, these poor animals got abandoned. Jake's jaw tightened. So they're just out here being sold and traded like objects, and there's nothing we can do? Not unless we can prove they're from Earth and get official protection status, Lisa said. And even then, it would only stop future sales. The ones already out here are legally considered salvage property. The crystal aliens have all the paperwork to prove ownership. Amy's computer tablet beeped. We need to go. Captain Hayes is asking where we are. As they walked toward the meeting room, Jake looked back at the window one last time. Somewhere in this huge station, that ugly, awkward creature was being prepared for sale to another buyer who would probably return it in a week. Just like all the others. Jake had no way of knowing that in less than 3 days, that same creature would save all their lives. The meeting room was cold and filled with bright white light. Captain Daniel Hayes sat at a long table made of clear crystal. His gray hair was cut short and his face showed no emotion, but his eyes were careful and alert. Across from him sat 3 crystal aliens. They sat very still, and light passed through their bodies and made strange patterns on the walls. This is very generous, Daniel said slowly. Metal ore at 15% below normal price with guaranteed delivery for 5 years. You'll forgive me for wondering what the trick is. The lead crystal alien, who said her name was Zalara, made a sound like wind chimes. No trick, Captain Hayes. Humanity has something we want, and we have resources you need. This is just good business. Amy sat next to Daniel and kept her face blank, but her mind was racing. Something was wrong. The crystal aliens were known for being tough in business deals, sometimes almost cruel. This kind of offer usually had hidden costs. And in exchange, Daniel continued, you want the right to mine asteroids between Mars and Jupiter, with human advice but crystal alien control. Correct, Zalara chimed. Your species doesn't have the technology to get those resources efficiently. We have the tools and the knowledge. Everyone wins. Jake stood near the door as a guard and noticed movement in the hallway outside. Kelverick, the crystal alien merchant they had seen earlier, was walking past with another one of those ugly earth dogs. This one looked even worse than the first one, with missing fur and a bad limp. The creature's eyes met Jake's through the clear wall. For a moment, Jake could have sworn he saw something very human in that look. Intelligence, fear, desperation. Then Kelvorick jerked the rope, and the moment ended. We'll need time to review this with Earth's government, Daniel was saying. A deal this big needs approval from the United Nations Council. Of course, Zalara agreed, but something in her crystal body changed. The light patterns shifted. However, we would like a preliminary agreement today. A show of trust, if you will. We have other interested parties. Daniel's eyes narrowed. What other parties? The asteroid belt is in human territory. Claimed, yes. Controlled, no. Zalara's tone stayed pleasant, but the message was clear. The bug aliens have shown interest. So have the dragon aliens. Without a formal agreement, nothing stops them from starting mining operations before humanity can do it themselves. It was a threat wrapped in polite words. Amy's hand tightened on her pen under the table. We'll send our preliminary agreement within 48 hours, Daniel said, standing up. That's the best I can offer. The crystal alien delegates stood too. Their bodies sang softly as they moved. We look forward to hearing from you, Captain Hayes. As the crystal aliens left the room, Dr. Lisa Grant entered. Her face was tight with barely controlled anger. She waited until the delegates were gone before speaking. We have a problem, she said quietly. I need you all to come with me right now. Daniel looked at his officers with concern. What kind of problem? The kind you need to see to believe. Lisa led them through the station's shopping area, down a side hallway that connected to the merchant storage bays. The smell hit them first. It was a mix of waste, fear, and something chemical that made Amy's eyes water. Lisa, what is this? Daniel demanded. She didn't answer. She just pressed her hand to a door panel. It slid open, showing a sight that made Jake feel sick. The storage bay was filled with cages. In those cages were dozens of the... Dear God, Amy whispered. In the back corner, away from the others, was a single larger cage. Inside was one of the creatures. Unlike the others, it seemed mostly unchanged. It was still ugly, with patchy gray-brown fur, a crooked face, and those 2 long legs. But its eyes were alert. They followed the human's movements with clear awareness. How did you find this? Daniel asked. His voice was hard and angry. I've been investigating, Lisa said. After seeing Kelvorick earlier, I started asking questions. One of the station's cleaning workers told me about this place. The crystal aliens have been using the station's abandoned sections for their breeding and modification program. Jake moved closer to the large cage in the corner. The ugly dog inside watched him come near but didn't bark or act aggressive. Instead, it sat down. Its head tilted to one side in a way that seemed almost like a question. "Why this one?" Jake asked, pointing to the separated cage. "According to my source, that's their control specimen," Lisa explained. "Unchanged, used as a comparison for their experiments. They've been trying to make the others prettier, less clumsy, quieter. So far, they've only made them worse." The creature in the cage made a small sound. Not quite a whine, not quite a bark. It shuffled forward as much as the cramped space allowed and pressed its crooked face against the bars. Amy knelt down beside Jake. "Hey there," she said gently. "You understand us, don't you?" The dog's tail, a scraggly thing that looked damaged, began to wag slowly. "We need to document this," Daniel said, pulling out his communicator. "And we need to contact Earth immediately. This violates at least a dozen interspecies treaties, not to mention basic right and wrong." "There's more," Lisa said seriously. "I accessed some of Kelvoric's files through creative computer work. The crystal aliens aren't just selling these creatures as pets. They've been testing them for other uses. Guard animals, fighters. Some have even been sold to research labs. They're trying to make weapons," Jake said flatly. "Or trying to," Lisa confirmed. "So far without much success. The creatures are too gentle, too trusting. Even the ones they've tried to train for fighting usually just end up confused and scared." Daniel was already recording the scene with his communicator, making sure to capture every cage, every modification, every piece of proof. "This changes everything. The crystal aliens wanted that preliminary agreement because they knew this was about to be discovered. They're trying to establish legal protection before we can object." "Should we confront them?" Amy asked. "Not yet," Daniel said. "First, we get this evidence back to the ship. Then we contact Earth and the Galactic Council. We do this properly, or the crystal aliens will find a way to twist it around." A soft metal groan echoed through the bay. Everyone froze. "That sounded like a door seal breaking," Jake said quietly. It was. The main entrance to the bay suddenly slammed shut. The air processing machines began to whine as they powered up to emergency levels. "They know we're here," Lisa said, checking her tablet. "The life support system is being overridden. Someone's removing the air." Amy ran to the control panel by the door. Her fingers flew over the buttons. "Locked out. I can't override it from here." Daniel activated his communicator. "Haze to Horizon's Edge. We have an emergency on the station. Requesting immediate extraction." Only static answered him. "They're blocking communications," Jake said, checking his own device. "We're cut off." The air was already getting thin. The temperature was dropping. In their cages, the modified creatures began to make distressed sounds. Their already difficult breathing became worse. "We have maybe 10 minutes of breathable air," Lisa calculated. Her voice stayed steady despite the danger. "Less if we panic." Daniel looked around the bay, searching for options. There was one small window looking out into empty space. The door was sealed tight. The air was running out, and in the corner the ugly dog in the control cage was watching them with those mismatched intelligent eyes. It began to bark. The sound was hoarse and insistent, carrying a pattern that Jake almost felt he could understand. The barking had a rhythm. 3 short barks. 2 long, 1 short. 3 short again, is that? Amy started, then shook her head. "No, that's impossible." "Morse code," Jake finished, moving closer to the cage. "SOS," repeated. "It's sending a distress signal." "Dogs don't know Morse code," Lisa said. But even as she spoke, she was watching the creature with new focus. "They can't, it's not possible." The ugly dog stopped barking and began pawing at something in the corner of its cage. Its movements were careful and purposeful, nothing like the random scratching of a scared animal. Daniel made a decision born of having no other choice. "Open the cage." "Captain?" Amy questioned. "We're going to die anyway if we don't find a way out of here." "Open it." Jake worked the cage's lock. It was designed to keep something inside, not people outside. Within seconds, he had it open. The ugly dog immediately scrambled out, nearly tripping over its own 2 long legs in its rush. But instead of running away or hiding in fear, it moved directly to the wall panel that controlled the cage systems. Standing on its back legs with an awkwardness that would have been funny in any other situation, it began pawing at specific controls. "It's opening the other cages," Lisa said in amazement. One by one, the cages clicked open. The modified creatures stumbled out, confused and weak, but alive. The ugly dog moved among them, making soft sounds that somehow organized the chaos. The other animals, despite their obvious pain, responded to its direction. "This isn't possible," Amy repeated, watching as the ugly dog led several of the weaker creatures toward a corner of the bay. "These are supposed to be simple animals." The oxygen level was down to 18% and dropping. Daniel could feel the first signs of oxygen loss, a lightness in his head that had nothing to do with relief. The ugly dog was digging now. Its paws scraped at what looked like a solid floor panel. 3 other creatures joined it, and together they managed to pry up the panel. It revealed a maintenance tunnel beneath. "It found an access tunnel," Jake said, dropping to his knees to look into the darkness below. "I can feel air moving. It leads somewhere. Could be anywhere," Lisa warned. "Could lead to another sealed section, or worse, directly to empty space." The ugly dog barked once, sharply, then jumped into the hole. They could hear it moving through the tunnel below. Its uneven walk created a distinct rhythm against the metal. Then faintly they heard it bark again. The sound echoed up from somewhere far away, but clear. "It wants us to follow," Jake said, "into an unknown maintenance tunnel. Following a dog that shouldn't be able to do any of the things it's doing," Amy summarized. "That's the plan? You have a better one?" Daniel asked, already lowering himself into the opening. One by one, they dropped into the crawl space, helping the weaker creatures down after them. The tunnel was cramped and dark, lit only by emergency strips that cast everything in sick red light. The ugly dog waited until they were all inside, then set off at a pace just slow enough for the injured animals to keep up. Jake, bringing up the rear, noticed something strange. The creature's limp, so obvious when it had been in the cage, had disappeared. It moved with purpose and precision through the tunnels, taking turns without hesitation, as if it had mapped the entire system. "Where did you come from?" Jake whispered to the darkness ahead. They crawled for what felt like hours but was probably only 10 minutes. The temperature began to rise and the air grew fresher. The ugly dog led them through a maze of service tunnels, always choosing the path that led upward, away from the sealed sections. Finally, they emerged into what looked like a cargo loading area. The ugly dog immediately moved to a communication panel and began pawing at it in that same careful way it had used on the cage controls. "Let me," Lisa said, gently moving the creature aside. She activated the panel and nearly cried with relief when it responded. "It's working. We can call the ship." While Lisa worked to establish contact, Daniel knelt beside the ugly dog. Up close, it was even more unusual. The asymmetry of its features seemed almost intentional now. Those mismatched eyes held a depth he'd never seen in an animal. "What are you?" he asked quietly. The dog tilted its head. For just a moment, its expression was unmistakably sad. "Horizon's Edge, this is Captain Hayes," Lisa was saying into the comm. "We need emergency extraction from Cargo Bay 17. We have multiple casualties in a hostile situation." "Repeat hostile situation." The response was immediate. "Captain, we've been trying to reach you for the past hour. Station authorities are claiming you attacked a crystal alien merchant facility." "That's a lie," Daniel said, taking over the comm. "The crystal aliens were running illegal experiments. We have evidence and witnesses. We need immediate extraction and we need security forces. Sir, the station's authorities are threatening to seal off all docking ports if we don't surrender you to crystal alien custody." Daniel looked at his team, at the injured creatures they'd rescued, at the ugly dog that had saved them all. "Negative. We're coming home and we're bringing evidence of crystal alien crimes. Tell the station that if they interfere, they'll be answering to the Galactic Council for harboring illegal genetic experimentation." "Understood, sir. Prepare for emergency extraction in 5 minutes." Amy had been caring for the rescued creatures, doing what she could. The floor vibrated as the Horizon's Edge moved into position. Through the window, Jake could see the ship's emergency airlock lining up with the cargo bay's external port. "Everyone ready?" Daniel called out. "This might get rough if the station tries to stop us." The ugly dog moved away from the window and positioned itself among the other rescued creatures. It organized them with soft barks and gentle nudges. By the time the airlock finished opening, all the animals were ready to move in an orderly way, even the most injured ones supported by their companions. "That's not normal pack behavior," Lisa said quietly. "That's tactical coordination." The airlock opened. Crew members from the Horizon's Edge rushed in with medical supplies and stretchers. As they loaded the injured creatures, Jake kept watching the cargo bay's main entrance, half expecting crystal alien security forces to burst through at any moment. The ugly dog was the last to board. It paused at the threshold to look back at the station. Its expression was unreadable, but Jake had the clear impression it was memorizing every detail. "Come on, boy," Jake said softly, holding out his hand. The dog turned, gave him one long look with those mismatched eyes, and walked onto the human ship. As the airlock sealed behind them, alarms began blaring throughout the station. The crystal aliens had finally realized their valuable specimens were escaping. But by then, the horizon's edge was already pulling away from the station. Its engines burned bright as it accelerated into empty space. In the ship's medical bay, as the crew worked to help the rescued creatures, the ugly dog sat quietly in the corner, watching everything with those intelligent, knowing eyes, and Jake Morrison, watching it in return, couldn't shake the feeling that they hadn't rescued a dog at all. They'd rescued something far more important. The medical bay of the horizon's edge had been turned into a temporary animal hospital, though Dr. Lisa Grant was increasingly uncomfortable with that description. The creatures they'd rescued were getting better under her care, but every test she ran only made the mystery deeper. "Their genetic structure is all wrong," she said, reviewing her findings with Captain Hayes in his office. "I mean, they're clearly dog-like, clearly from Earth. DNA confirms they're dogs, specifically mixed-breed dogs. But there are strange things." "What kind of strange things?" Daniel asked. "Brain tissue that's far more developed than it should be. Neural pathways that look almost deliberate in their design. And this?" She brought up a holographic image. "Clusters of what I first thought were tumors, but they're actually organized tissue. They're connection points. Connection points to what? That's what I couldn't figure out until I ran a deep scan on our friend." Lisa pulled up another image, this one of the ugly dog that had led them to safety. "That's not a natural animal, Captain. Someone modified it, extensively. Those connection points are for some kind of brain technology." Daniel leaned forward, studying the image. "Are you saying someone turned a dog into a cyborg?" "Not exactly. The technology was removed, but recently, within the last few months, I'd guess. Whatever was connected to those interface points is gone now, but the brain pathways remain. This dog's brain was trained to work with advanced technology, and even without that technology, the training continues." A soft knock at the door interrupted them. Jake Morrison entered, looking troubled. "Captain, you need to see this. I've been going through the data we took from the Crystal Alien facility." He activated his tablet, showing a file on the main display. "This is a list from the abandoned facility where the Crystal Aliens found these dogs. It took some work to decode, but I got it open." The document was labeled Project Companion Final Asset Inventory and dated 8 months earlier. As Daniel read through it, his expression hardened. "They weren't pets," he said quietly. "They were soldiers," Jake nodded seriously. The facility was a black operations research station, unregistered and apparently unsanctioned. They were developing bio-enhanced tactical units using dogs as the base organism. Lisa pulled up more of the file. The modification was both biological and technological. Enhanced intelligence, brain connections for direct communication and tactical coordination, even modified muscle tissue for improved strength and endurance. "Why dogs?" Daniel asked. "Because dogs are loyal," Jake said. "The file says it explicitly. They wanted soldiers who would follow orders without question, who had a natural instinct to protect and serve, but with human-level intelligence and the ability to connect directly with combat systems." "That's horrible," Lisa breathed. "It gets worse," Jake continued. "The project was shut down after the lead researcher had a crisis of conscience. According to these logs, she realized they'd created thinking beings and were treating them as property. She tried to go public, but before she could, the facility was raided. Everyone was evacuated, but in the chaos, the dogs were left behind. And then the Crystal Aliens found them," Daniel finished. "Not immediately," Jake said, pulling up another file. "The dogs survived on their own for almost 2 months. The facility's automatic systems kept them fed, and they had access to water. But without maintenance, their brain technology began to fail. The technology was designed to require regular updates and repairs. Lisa was checking her own data. That explains the connection points. The technology was failing, causing pain and brain damage. Someone removed them. But who?" As if in answer, there was a soft sound at the door. It slid open to reveal the ugly dog standing in the hallway. How it had opened the door was anyone's guess. The creature walked into the room with that distinct, awkward walk. Its mismatched eyes moved from person to person. Then it did something that made all three humans freeze. It sat down, lifted one paw, and deliberately tapped the floor in a pattern. 3 quick taps, too slow. 1 quick SOS, Jake whispered. The dog continued. More patterns, more deliberate tapping. Daniel grabbed his tablet, opening a translation program for Morse code. "Help us," the message read. "We remember. We understand. Please help us." The silence in the room was complete. Finally, Daniel knelt down in front of the dog, meeting its eyes at the same level. "You can understand me, can't you? Everything I'm saying right now." The dog's tail wagged once, an unmistakable yes. "The technology," Lisa said slowly. "It enhanced intelligence, but the intelligence remained even after the technology was removed. The capacity was always there in the brain pathways. The technology just unlocked it." "You removed your own technology," Jake said, speaking to the dog. "You and the others. When it started to fail, when it started to hurt, you figured out how to remove it." Another tail wag. Daniel sat back, running his hands through his hair. "We have thinking beings that look like dogs. That's going to be a problem. Why?" Amy Carter had entered quietly, drawn by the conversation. "We have dozens of thinking species in the Galactic Council. Because these were created by humans illegally and then abandoned," Daniel explained. "The legal complications alone are huge. Are they property? Are they citizens? Do they have rights? And that's before we even get into the ethical nightmare of their creation." The ugly dog was tapping again. They all watched the pattern form. "Not property. Not pets. Help others, please." "The others," Lisa said. "The ones still at the station. The ones the crystal aliens are modifying. They're not just animals in pain. They're people." Amy moved to the communications console. "Captain, we need to contact the Galactic Council immediately. This is a thinking being rights issue now." "Agreed," Daniel said. "But first we need to figure out how to prove it. A dog tapping Morse code might not be enough to convince a council tribunal." The ugly dog stood up and walked to the main computer console. Standing on its back legs with that same awkward grace they'd seen before, it placed one paw on the touchpad. The screen flickered, then filled with text. "My name was Max." The words appeared. "I was Tyler Morrison's dog. He was a soldier. He died 3 years ago. They took me after. Said I had potential. Did tests. Made me smart. Made me soldier too." Jake's face had gone pale. "Tyler Morrison was my brother. He was killed in action. I remember him talking about his dog, Max. When he died, I thought the dog had been given to a new family. They didn't give me to family." More text appeared. "They changed me. Hurt me. Made me think. Now I think too much. Remember too much. All of us do." "How many?" Daniel asked gently. "How many of you are there?" "Started with 47. Now 23. Some died when technology failed. Some died at Crystal Alien Facility. Rest are still there. In pain, scared, need help." Lisa was wiping tears from her eyes. "We have to get them out. All of them." "The Crystal Aliens won't give them up," Amy said. "They've invested too much and legally they have salvage rights." "Then we make them illegal," Daniel said, his jaw set. "We prove these are thinking beings entitled to protection under Galactic Council law. We force the Crystal Aliens to release them." Max's tail wagged more strongly this time. More text appeared on the screen. "Thank you. We tried to stay hidden, tried to seem dumb, just dogs. Hurt to be treated like animals when we remember being more. But if we showed smart, feared what would happen." "You don't have to hide anymore," Jake said, kneeling beside Max. "Not with us. And I promise you, we're going to get your family back." Max turned from the console and, with a gesture that was heartbreakingly human, leaned against. The emergency session of the Galactic Council's Ethics Committee had been called together in record time. Captain Daniel Hayes stood before a half-circle of delegates representing 17 different species. Max sat calmly at his side. The Crystal Alien delegation, led by Zalara, occupied the right side of the chamber. Their crystalline bodies reflected the chamber's lights in patterns that the translation computer struggled to interpret. But Daniel didn't need a translator to read their anger. "This is absurd," Zalara chimed, her tone like breaking glass. "We are being accused of crimes against property that the humans themselves abandoned. These creatures were found in a broken-down facility, unclaimed and dying. We saved them. You experimented on them. Lisa Grant countered from her position as expert witness. You subjected them to genetic modification and harsh training, treating them as products rather than beings. Because they are not beings. Solara's crystalline structure flared with color. They are animals. Terran fauna, no different from the livestock species a dozen other races trade freely. The Council's leader, a massive dragon alien named Thresh, raised one clawed hand for silence. The question before this committee is one of thinking ability. Captain Hayes claims these creatures possess intelligent thought and are therefore entitled to protection under Council law. We have submitted extensive documentation, Daniel said, activating his presentation. Holographic displays filled the air above the council floor. Brain scans showing thinking capacity equal to or exceeding several recognized thinking species. Behavioral analysis demonstrating problem-solving, abstract reasoning, and complex communication. Trained behaviors, Solara dismissed. Even non-thinking creatures can be conditioned to perform complex tasks. Then explain this, Amy Carter said, stepping forward. She gestured to Max, who stood and walked to the center of the chamber. The room fell silent. Max approached the main control console designed for species with hands far more skilled than paws. Without hesitation, he connected with the system. His movements were awkward but purposeful. Text began appearing on every display in the chamber. My name is Max. I am speaking to you now with full awareness of my words and their meaning. I understand I am addressing the Galactic Council. I understand the concept of law, of rights, of personhood. I am not human, but I am a person. We all are. The chamber erupted in reaction. Several delegates spoke at once, their translations overlapping into noise that couldn't be understood. Thresh called for order, pounding his heavy tail against the floor. Programmed, Solara insisted, though her structure's color had shifted to something the computer interpreted as uncertainty. An elaborate trick. Max turned to face the crystal alien delegation directly. More text appeared. You know I am real. You saw us learn. You watched us adapt to your modifications, work around your conditioning. You observed us communicate with each other, coordinate our actions, plan our survival. You knew, and you didn't care. One of the council delegates, a gas alien whose floating form pulsed with subtle colors, floated forward. I would like to ask a question directly if the creature will permit. Max's tail wagged once. Permission granted. You claim awareness of personhood, the gas alien said. Can you explain to this council what that means to you? Max's paws moved across the console. The text that appeared was both simple and deep. I know I exist. I know I will die. I understand past and future, not just now. I love and I grieve. I hope, I fear. I dream of things that are not real and wish they were. I look at stars and wonder what is out there. I'm not human, but I am me. Isn't that what personhood is? The silence that followed was complete. Then Jake Morrison stepped forward, his voice thick with emotion. Max was my brother's dog. Tyler died 3 years ago, and Max was taken by people who saw an opportunity, not a grieving animal. They turned him into something that could tell us what he'd always felt. But the feelings were always there. The love was always there. We just made it impossible for him to tell us how much it hurt. The human government has already begun prosecution of those responsible for Project Companion. Daniel added, we're not here to defend what was done. We're here to ensure it's never done again, and to make sure these beings are protected. Solara's structure shifted to aggressive angles. And what of our rights? We invested considerable resources in these creatures. We have legal salvage claims. You have claims on property, Thresh rumbled, not on persons. The question is which these are. I propose a test, the gas alien delegate said. A simple one. If these creatures are truly thinking, truly persons, they should be able to demonstrate understanding of complex ethical concepts. What kind of test? Daniel asked cautiously. The gas alien floated to the center of the chamber. A moral dilemma. I will present a scenario, and the creature will have 1 minute to respond. No coaching, no assistance. Max walked forward to meet the gas alien. His mismatched eyes were steady. You are in a room with 2 doors, the gas alien began. Behind one door is your human companion, injured and calling for help. Behind the other door are 5 strangers of various species, also injured and calling for help. You can only open one door before a fire destroys the room. What do you choose? The chamber was silent. Even Solara had stopped her objections to watch. Max's paws touched the console. The text appeared slowly as if he was choosing each word with care. I am a dog. I will always choose my human. That is what I am. But I understand this makes me a flawed person. A human might choose the 5 strangers because human morality values the many over the few. Some humans would choose their companion because love is stronger than mathematics. There is no right answer, only choices that show who we are. My choice shows I am a person who loves beyond reason. Isn't that human too? The gas alien pulsed with colors the computer translated as approval. More human than many humans, perhaps. This proves nothing, Zalara protested, but her tone had lost its certainty. It proves everything, Thresh said. The question was not whether the creature would make the right choice, but whether it understood the concept of choice itself. The awareness of moral complexity, the recognition of its own limitations and biases, that is thinking intelligence. The crystal alien delegation wishes to be heard, Zalara said. Her structure rigid. Speak, Thresh allowed. We acknowledge, Zalara began slowly, that these creatures demonstrate unexpected thinking capacity. However, establishing them as persons creates unprecedented legal complications. They were created by humans through illegal means. They are not a natural species. How can they claim rights when their very existence is a violation of law? The same way any person claims rights, Daniel said firmly. By existing and being aware of that existence, the circumstances of their creation don't diminish their personhood. Max was typing again, drawing attention back to the displays. We did not ask to be made, did not ask to be changed, did not ask to be smart enough to know what we lost. But we exist. We feel, we matter. If you deny us because we were made wrong, then you say some people don't deserve to be people because of how they were born. Is that what this council believes? The question struck at the heart of the Galactic Council's founding principles. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably. Thresh conferred quietly with the other senior council members, then turned back to the chamber. This committee is prepared to make a preliminary ruling. However, the crystal aliens have raised a point that requires addressing. You were created through illegal human experimentation. Technically, you are the product of criminal activity. Like a child born from crime is still a child, Max typed. Still deserves protection. Precisely, Thresh agreed. Which brings us to our ruling. This committee finds that the beings known as Project Companion subjects demonstrate sufficient thinking intelligence to warrant protection under Galactic Council law. They are hereby recognized as persons with all rights that entails. The chamber erupted again, this time with a mixture of approval and protest. Thresh continued, his voice cutting through the noise. Furthermore, we rule that the crystal alien salvage claim is void. You cannot claim salvage rights over persons. The beings currently in your custody must be released immediately to human care. This is outrageous, Zalara protested. We demand compensation for our losses. You will receive nothing, Thresh said flatly. Be grateful we are not pursuing charges for the experimentation and modification you performed. The fact that you did not know they were persons is the only reason you're not facing criminal prosecution. Zalara's structure flickered through a rapid series of colors before settling on something the computer identified as resignation. The creatures will be transferred within the day. As the crystal alien delegation departed, several other council members approached Daniel and his team. This will cause complications, one of them, a bug alien, warned. Many species keep animals. This ruling will raise questions about which animals are persons and which are not. Good, Lisa said firmly. Those questions should be raised. We've been making assumptions about consciousness for too long. Max had left the console and returned to Jake's side. The young officer knelt down, scratching behind Max's lopsided ears. You did it, Jake whispered. You really did it. Later that evening, aboard the Horizon's Edge, the crew gathered in the main observation room. Through the window, they could see a crystal alien transport ship approaching. It carried the 22 remaining dogs from the facility. What happens now? Amy asked. These people, they can't just go back to normal life on Earth. Why not? Daniel countered. They'll need support, certainly. Medical care, psychological help, assistance integrating into society. But humans have been living with dogs for thousands of years. Now we'll just be doing it with full awareness of who they are. Some of them won't want to stay with humans, Lisa pointed out. Not after what was done to them. Max, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, stood and walked to the window. His reflection in the glass showed his misshapen features. The asymmetry that had once seemed ugly now just seemed like a different kind of beauty. He activated the communication panel. Text appeared on the main screen. Some of us will go, see galaxy, be free. But most will stay with humans. Not because we have to, because we choose to. Because even after everything, we still love you. That's the unthinkable thing. Not that we're smart. That after all the hurt, we still want to be with you. The crew was silent. Each person struggled with the weight of that statement. We don't deserve that, Jake said quietly. No, Max typed. But you're learning. That's enough. The transport ship docked. One by one, the rescued dogs were brought aboard the horizon's edge. Some were still injured. All were traumatized. But as they entered the ship, something changed in their eyes. Hope. Max greeted each one, touching noses in the traditional dog greeting. But he also connected with them in ways the humans couldn't fully understand. Sharing information, offering comfort, building community. They're organizing themselves, Lisa observed, creating a social structure. They're becoming a people, Daniel corrected. Not just individuals, but a culture. One of the rescued dogs, a female with 3 legs and scars that spoke of terrible modifications, approached Jake hesitantly. Her eyes were wary but curious. It's okay, Jake said softly. You're safe now. The dog sat down and lifted a paw. When Jake took it gently in his hand, she closed her eyes. For the first time since her rescue, her tail wagged. Max was typing again. His message appeared on everyone's tablet. Thank you. For seeing us. For fighting for us. For loving us even when we're not perfect. You gave us the unthinkable, a future. Now we give you gift back. We forgive you. All of you. For everything. Because that's what family does. Captain Daniel Hayes looked at his crew, at the assembled dogs that were so much more than dogs, at Max standing proud despite his ungainly form. No, he said. That's what people do. Welcome to the galactic community. And in that moment, as humans and dogs stood together in mutual recognition and respect, something fundamental shifted in the universe. Not with a bang or a dramatic gesture, but with the simple act of seeing each other truly for the first time. The days that followed were busy with planning and coordination. The rescued dogs, now officially recognized as persons by the Galactic Council, needed medical treatment, psychological support, and time to heal. The crew of the Horizon's Edge worked tirelessly to provide care and comfort. Max became a bridge between the two species. His ability to communicate through technology made him invaluable as a translator and advocate. But more than that, his patience and understanding helped both humans and dogs navigate this new relationship. One afternoon, Jake found Max in the ship's library, using a specially designed computer terminal. The ugly dog was reading through Earth history files, his mismatched eyes moving across the screen with intense focus. Learning about home? Jake asked, sitting down beside him. Max's paw touched the screen, bringing up text. Learning what we missed. All the years we were with humans but couldn't tell you what we understood. So much we watched, so much we wanted to say. I'm sorry, Jake said. Sorry that we never knew, never understood. Not your fault, Max typed. We chose silence. Easier to be simple dogs than risk what might happen if humans knew we understood. Fear kept us quiet, but fear also kept us safe. And now? Now we choose different. Choose to speak. Choose to be seen. Scary, but also free. Jake reached out and gently stroked Max's patchy fur. Tyler would be proud of you. My brother loved you so much. Max's body stilled. When he typed again, the words came slowly. I loved him too, still do. When he died, part of me died. But couldn't tell anyone. Couldn't explain grief that felt human but came from dog. Just had to carry it alone. You're not alone anymore, Jake said firmly. No, Max agreed. Have family now. Old family and new family. Human family and dog family, all mixed together. In the medical bay, Dr. Lisa Grant was making rounds with her patients. The rescued dogs were recovering well, both physically and emotionally. Some had lost limbs to the crystal aliens experiments. Others bore scars that would never fully fade. But all of them showed remarkable resilience. A young male dog with burn scars across his back was learning to use a computer terminal. His name was Charlie, and before the modifications he had been a family pet in Seattle. Now he was learning to communicate, to share his thoughts and experiences. How are you feeling today, Charlie? Lisa asked. Charlie's paw moved across the screen. Better, dreams still bad sometimes. Remember the pain, the fear. But also remember my family. My girl, she was 7. Wonder if she remembers me. Lisa's heart ached. We're trying to locate all the families of the dogs who were taken. It's a slow process, but we're making progress. Thank you, Charlie typed. Even if they don't want me back, knowing they're okay would be enough. But Lisa had good news. She pulled up a file on her tablet. Actually, Charlie, we found your family. They never stopped looking for you. When you disappeared, they filed missing reports, searched everywhere. They're waiting to hear from you. Charlie's whole body began to shake. His tail wagged so hard it seemed like it might fall off. Really? Sarah still remembers? She's 10 now, Lisa said gently. And she told our representatives that she thinks about you every single day. The tears that fell from Charlie's eyes were unmistakably human in their emotion, even as they fell from a dog's face. In the ship's common area, several of the dogs had gathered to talk. They used a mix of barks, body language, and typed communication. Max often joined these gatherings, helping facilitate discussions about their future. Some of us want to stay on Earth, a large female named Bella was saying through her terminal. Want to go back to families, to homes? Even after everything, home is still home. Some want to explore, added a small male named Tucker. See the galaxy, meet other species, have adventures. Now that we can communicate, whole universe is open. And some don't know, a quiet female named Daisy typed. Confused, scared. Both want human contact and fear it. Max listened to them all, his misshapen head tilting thoughtfully. All choices valid, he typed. No wrong answer. Some dogs stayed with wolf packs. Some joined humans thousands of years ago. We've always had choice, even if humans didn't know. Now choice is just more visible. But we're different now, Bella argued. We're not like regular dogs anymore. We think different. Know different. Where do we fit? We fit where we choose to fit, Max replied. Maybe some of us create new communities. Dog communities with dog culture. Maybe some integrate fully with humans as equals instead of pets. Maybe some do both. Future is unwritten. You sound like a philosopher, Tucker typed, and if dogs could grin, he was grinning. Just a dog who thinks too much, Max responded. Always was. Technology just gave me words for thoughts that were always there. Captain Hayes called a meeting of all crew and rescued dogs 3 days after the council ruling. The ship's largest room was packed. Humans and dogs mixed together, sitting side by side. I want to update everyone on our next steps, Daniel began. We're currently en route to Earth. ETA is 4 days. Upon arrival, we'll be met by representatives from the United Nations, the Galactic Council, and various animal rights organizations. He paused, looking around the room. I know some of you are nervous about what comes next. Change is always difficult, especially change this profound. But I want you all to know that you have advocates. You have rights. And you have friends. Max stood and walked to the front of the room. His terminal projected his words on the main screen so everyone could see. Want to say something? He typed. To humans and to dogs both. We are entering new era. Era where two species who lived together for thousands of years finally see each other clearly. Will be challenges. Will be misunderstandings. Will be mistakes. He paused, his paw hovering over the keys. But also will be opportunity. Opportunity to build something beautiful. Partnership between species based on mutual respect and understanding. Not owner and pet. Not master and servant. But friends, family, equals who choose to be together. The room was completely silent. We dogs forgive humans for not knowing, for treating us as less than we were. You couldn't see what we didn't show. And we humans, Max included now, must forgive ourselves for what was done in Project Companion. Cannot change past. Can only build better future. Amy Carter raised her hand. Max, what do you need from us? How can we help make this transition easier? Max's response was immediate. Patience, understanding. Time to figure